Hi there, friends. I am home, back from my jaunt to Georgia, and I got home late last night, and that meant I get to take today off. Um, as I said in another video, I think the one I made when I was in Georgia I don't even remember. I don't even know what day it is today. I think it's Valentine's Day. It's Tuesday. I think I made the video on Sunday night. Um, so I made the video of the Infinity Tarot, and I said I had a couple other decks I wanted to walk through, and they're not new decks, but they are decks I don't see out there much, and they are things I found in my closet. I when I made my videos on the decks that I had that I was thinking of finding new homes for, I I there were a lot of decks in that video, but I knew that I had some missing, and that I knew I had them somewhere, and I still think I have some missing. But I went looking to see if I could find my other copy of the World Spirit Tarot, because I learned that it had been republished as an independent version, but I didn't want to spend the money because I knew I had another copy of it, and I did, and I found it. And in the finding of that, I also found a couple other decks. And mostly I'm just sharing these because I think they're interesting, and I don't actually see them much. The first one is not really a tarot deck, or it's supposed to be, or it's inspired by tarot. And it is Mark McElroy's bright idea deck. And the interesting story about this deck is I think I actually sort of suggested that my boss buy it. Not the boss I have now, but at the time, because I thought it would be an interesting thing to do some brainstorming with at work, and also I wanted it, and why not get someone else to get you things you want? So I thought I had lost it. I know, I mean, there are a couple decks I know I have somewhere. I know I have the Victoria Regina Tarot somewhere. I know I've got, oh, I can't remember the name of it. There's a bunch, and they may have gotten lost when I moved or whatnot, but this one I thought was among them. So I guess I'm just gonna sort of like flip through a little of the deck. This I think is out of print, but it's actually not very expensive. Um, so it came with a pretty decent book, because the whole system was meant to be not necessarily about divination, but more about inspiration. So all of the majors are renamed, and actually all of the whole system is color based. So the trumps, or the majors, I used to call the majors trumps, but for obvious reasons now I dislike that word, are purple. The fire suit is red, the water suit is blue, the air suit is yellow, and the earth suit is green. But even, because McElroy's aim was really to make this something that could be used in business, I think it's not wands, pentacles, swords, and cups, and it's not even air, earth, water, and fire. It's just um, it's literally just color. And so what he gave you was the what would have been kind of the elements as we know them, but divorced from anything that felt even remotely esoteric. So the trumps were methods, motivations, and influences. The red suit was actions, desires, goals, and intentions. Blue was emotions, perceptions, intuitions, reactions, and prejudices. Yellow, decisions, logic, strategies, response, judgment. Green, material resources, five senses, physical objects, and environment. And then, not unlike a sort of a pip based deck, although this is not pip based, the number associations sort of gave you a numerological association. And then the court, there is no court. What you get in place of that is kind of an evolution for each suit. So what would have been the page is called learning. What would have been the knight is called doing. What would have been the queen is called feeling, and what would normally be the king is called controlling. But there's no court associations. And the difference here too is that you get the suit, and then kind of the association for, I'm sorry, you get the court or the position, so to speak, the point on evolution, and then you get something that is associated with the suit itself. Um, so in that way, it was a very different deck. I always kind of liked the art in this deck. Um, so instead of the fool, we had freedom. Instead of the magician, we had capability. The high priestess was intuition. The empress was nurturing. The emperor was authority. The Hierophant was guidance. I mean, the lines that he drew between kind of a non esoteric system and tarot are actually kind of really sort of spot on. The Lover's is passion. The Chariot's advancement on a segue. Justice is balance. Experience. This is 9. This would have been the Hermit. Experience. The Wheel of Fortune is luck. This would have been strength. 11, boldness. Perspective would have been the Hanged Man. Death is passage. Is this temperance? 14. Yep. Synthesis. The Devil is shadow. The Tower is demolition. The Star is optimism. The Moon is fantasy. The Sun is energy. This is one of the more interesting ones. This is where it kind of goes from being sort of pretty to being kind of sort of weird. Judgment is examination, and we've got a dentist, which makes me think of Little Shop of Horrors. And then the world is wholeness. And these last two cards in the majors are the two that kind of bugged me, because this, like the rest of the deck, I actually really like. This card and this card, like this is just weird, and that looks like Austin Powers. So, but then the suits themselves, I mean, I won't go through all of them, but it's, you know, it's very unesoteric. There are, if you look closely, astrological symbols in the images, but all of the cards are, you know, you got people working in a pizza place, car accidents, sports. So, and it's diverse-ish. You know what I mean? Like there are cards that depict people of various ethnicities. But it's largely pretty white, which I guess in business is what the business world sadly looks like today. But I actually, you know, I kind of liked it. I thought I had lost it, and recently someone offered the deck to me in a trade, or not even as a trade, just asked if I wanted it. And I said, no, I know I have it somewhere. So it was a Llewellyn deck. It survived in this for, I mean, I would say roughly like 10 years, probably even longer. I can't remember. When did this come out? Because I got it when it came out. Copyright 2005. So even longer than 10 years. So it survived in this hot mess of a Llewellyn box, but I doubt that it'll... In fact, I don't even know how I'll close it. But the deck survived pretty well. So I don't know, I don't know. I part of me sort of wonders if I should come up with a reading to offer using the deck for sort of a less esoteric thing. And part of me wonders if I will just forget about it again. So which one should I look at next? I'll save the weirdest one for last. This is not a weird deck. This I completely forgot I had. I remember buying it. And I remember, for various reasons, instantly putting it away. Not that I didn't like the art, but I'll show you why in a second. This is the Celtic Wisdom Tarot, created by Caitlin Matthews. The artist... illustrations by Olivia Rayner. So I saw this in the bookstore and was just really drawn in by I loved loved this kind of swirling Van Gogh. I can make this a little closer. Slightly Van Gogh-ish art. The box has kind of survived. It's gotten a little crushed. I have to remember how to open it now. So this one, yes. So this is one of those decks. It comes with a hardcover book by Caitlin Matthews, and there's some cool spreads in there. And then the deck is another one of those decks that gets split in two, which is something that I'm never a fan of. Because it's just not a convenient way to store it, and I feel like cards always get stuck here. So where is the start of it? Another reason why is that you kind of lose the thread of the deck. So now that I'm looking at this, I'm gonna go grab something else. Hold the phone for a moment, would you? Because there's another deck I forgot about that I think is still in print. That I also really like, and that has similar qualities. My apartment is such a mess, you guys, right now. It's not even funny. So anyway, this deck has obviously Celtic influences. So why did I immediately package this deck up? Well, when I got it, I was very picky. And it's not doing it now, but I have to say, after all those years in its box, the cards were this is one of the stickiest decks. It's very glossy, and it was very sticky. It's not so much now, so that may have worn off. It's also just, it's bigger even than the new Bonefire, and hard to shuffle. I guess there's, I sort of get it, because modern pagan influenced or modern Wiccan influenced faiths have a lot of I guess rightful devotion to the Celtic traditions. It's again, and this is one of those things where it's like I say these things, and it's really just my own thing. Like, I don't gel with that. I don't have any problem with it, and in fact, I do have some Celtic roots in my ancestry. It's just not something I'm drawn to, but I do really like this deck. And again, sort of similar to the last one, really, all of them are renamed. So the Fool is the Soul, the Magician is the Decider. Beautiful backs, right? The High Priestess is the Guardian. The Empress is the Shaper. The Keeper is the Emperor. I mean, the art is gorgeous. It's really, it's like a children's book, but it doesn't feel childish. The Rememberer is the Hierophant. The Lover. The Mover is the Chariot. The Empowerer is, I think this would represent, Strength. The Counselor is the Hermit. The Spinner is the Wheel. The Balancer, this would be the Hanged Man. The Dedicator is... No, this is the Hanged Man. This would be Justice. Yes, sorry. This is the Hanged Man. The Liberator is Death. The Mingler is Temperance. The Challenger would be the Devil. The Changer would be the... Did I already get 10? See, I lose track of my... Yeah. I like doubt my knowledge of the Roman numerals sometimes, especially when the deck isn't traditionally named. So this is the Changer, which is the Tower. The Dreamer would be the Star. The Imaginer is the Moon. The Protector is the Sun. The Renewer is Judgment. And the Perfecter is the World. And then this is interesting because the suits are not traditional. So swords is battle. Cups is art. Knowledge is wands. I think it's hard to tell. I think it's wands. And then the earth suit is skill. I may have that wrong. In fact, I wonder if the book says. And then the progression. So there's no ace. There's augury of battle. 2 is dialogue of battle. So everything is a keyword. Everything is sort of an evolution within its suit. So augury of battle corresponds to the ace of cups, which would be augury of art. 2 of battle corresponds to that's the 2 of battle. Dialogue of battle, which is the 2, corresponds to dialogue of art. So it's a bit of a system in terms. It's like a grid, and then the courts are king, queen, warrior, and woman. So it's a very different deck in terms of its system. Luckily, it does come with sort of a large 145 page book, and it's Caitlin Matthews, so it's going to be really well written. It goes through some Celtic realms. It goes through this sort of very Celtic themed, the leaves from the sacred tree, the circuit of lives, seasons of story, the bright knowledge, the pathways of the year. She talks about divination by tree and the Ohms, using cards, caring for cards, diviner's responsibilities, I think is interesting. Ethics and divination, some wisdom cards. She's got this wheel of the year. So there's a lot in this book, including descriptions of the cards. And there are spreads in here. Sorry. So the 3 illuminations spread, the soul protector spread, the sample soul. Oh, there's a sample soul protector. 5 streams of the senses, the co-walkers. I mean, they're big spreads too. The Weaver's Celtic Cross, so an adaptation of the Celtic Cross. The 7 candles of life. So there's a lot of spreads in here. So I mean, this. It's a really beautifully designed. I have not read the book. I've just sort of skimmed through it. Back when I got this, I never read the books, and then I put it away and forgot all about it. So this I found. I really like it. I do not see myself working with it. There is the strong possibility I think I'll probably put this up for trade somewhere. Because it's, aside from the box being sort of slightly damaged, the deck itself and the book are in perfect condition. And it's beautiful, and it's not still in print. It's not super hard to get. Like, I went and looked on Amazon and it's out there. But what this made me think of, which is another deck I forgot about and really loved, and also didn't use much because of the size of the cards, so I didn't expect to talk about this, but I'm gonna. This deck I probably will keep, because I remember loving it so much. This one is also, I believe, still in print. Although I think it has a different box now. This is the Inner Child cards, which I totally forgot about until I dug through that old box of decks that I'm looking. So it comes with this amazing hardbound. This amazing hardbound book, which is like a children's book, and it's got pictures of all the cards, and it was actually there's a chapter here on how to work with children. I think it's a really beautiful book, using this deck with children. So yeah, you could use it with kids. There's some spreads, and then the descriptions of the cards. I remember being stunned when I saw this one. The box is weird, but better than a lot. Like I wish the Celtic Wisdom Tarot had the same kind of box. I wonder if this is Bear and Company who published. Yeah, it's a different publisher. But this was another one. Can you hear it? See how sticky that is? This I forgot all about, so it's not even in order. The suits are crystals, hearts. This is a major. Swords. And wands. And it's all based on fairy tales. So all of the major cards are a different fairy tale. So the Emperor's New Clothes, Alice in Wonderland. But I was so charmed by it. You can see here how sticky it is. It's not as glossy as the other one is, but it's just as sticky. I'm pretty sure this is still in print, and it's The Big Bad Wolf. Mother Goose as the Empress. So this is really a charmer. And beautifully designed. This was the only card I remember not liking. It's just a little creepy. No deck is perfect. I mean, we know that. So, the Inner Child Tarot card. It's not even the Inner Child Tarot. They're just called the Inner Child cards. Again, it's not a slippery deck. It's a sticky deck. Urgh. See what I mean? And hard to shuffle, which is one reason why Tom Sawyer. So, yeah, the Celtic Wisdom made me think of this deck, and I haven't looked at it forever and forever. I did use this a couple times. Because, I actually, when I was starting out, made it easy to kind of draw parallels because I knew the stories for the most part. The minor arcana are not related to stories. They just sort of have their own kind of fairy tale-esque quality, but they're not based on the same, or they're not characters from actual stories. So that's that. So, but the Celtic Wisdom I will likely try to find a new home for. So if anyone out there is like, oh, I've always wanted that deck. Well, there are a couple, decks I'm looking for trade-wise, so we can chat. The next one is probably primarily interesting to me, and it's the Shakespearean Tarot. This is another one that is not easy to get these days. This one is by Dolores Ashcroft Norwicki, illustrations by Paul Hardy. Here, okay. I'm just going to go on one of my little tears for a second. The artist, I would implore writers who create tarot decks to at least feature the artist who drew the damn things in at least the same size font as the author. I am a writer. I know how hard it is as a writer to get credit, but designing or writing a book on tarot, I would wager takes less time than painting 78 pictures, if not more. So I would challenge folks to be more generous when it comes to that, because I get a little, So anyway, this is a tarot deck, obviously inspired by Shakespeare. It comes with a pretty decent book, and it talks about the cards. I don't think, if I remember correctly, it talks a super great deal about why she chose what she chose. I'm gonna make, because this is actually a really small deck, another box that the deck has sort of survived, but it's one of those that the cards slide down into, and it becomes a pain in the neck. This is a small deck. It's almost it's not anywhere near playing card size. It's probably about as wide as a playing card deck, but smaller. So I'm gonna, not smaller, I'm gonna make this really low here. And even then, it won't be super easy to see, and I can't actually get it lower, so we're just gonna have to work with it. So the way that this deck works is you get the normal name, and then you get a quote, and the title of a Shakespeare play. It's really, really clever, and most of it succeeds. I guess the problem with this deck, and one reason why I never kind of brought it into my normal rotation, is that there are a couple cards that fail for me in a way that I think is problematic, and I'll talk about why. But it is a cool deck. It's a great collector's item. I guess if I were less sensitive to certain things, I would probably use it more. Maybe I can use it from, I don't know. It's thoughtfully done. I just wish sort of more thoughtfully in a couple ways. But so the Fool is Two Gentlemen of Verona. The Magician is the Tempest, which makes sense because of Prospero. Cleopatra is the High Priestess. The Empress comes from The Winter's Tale. The Winter's Tale is a weird play, and not necessarily. The Winter's Tale is actually my favorite of Shakespeare's plays, and it's a very strange fantasy about a man who, out of nowhere, gets jealous because he thinks his best friend is having sex with his wife, and that the child she's pregnant with isn't his, and there's a trial, and the wife dies, and the friend is banished, and it turns out that an oracle comes and says, you are wrong and you're jealous, and she was innocent and so is he. And so the child was born, the baby was born before the mother died. So this loyal servant goes and takes it into the woods. He gets eaten by a bear. That's, and on stage, no, he gets chased off by a bear, but he gets eaten by a bear. The baby survives, grows up as a shepherd in Sicilia, falls in love with a prince in disguise. His father is the prince's father is the son of the friend who was accused of stealing the first king's wife. And it's a comedy, so it ends up happily, and the dead wife comes back to life, and it's really a beautiful, strange play. It was one of Shakespeare's last plays, and it's my favorite. And the energy of it doesn't really have much to do with the Empress as a nurturer, or as a place of fertility and all of the things of naturalness of, it's a very angry play, with some beautiful moments of healing at the end, but the relationship between it and the Empress is nil. The Emperor is Caesar. The High Priestess comes from King Henry VIII. The lovers are Romeo and Juliet. Again, I go back and forth with this one, right? Romeo and Juliet are not romantic figures. They are impetuous children who are blinded by, their physical awakening for each other, and make silly choices. But the choice aspect makes sense. The tendency toward kind of balls to the wall action and without thinking of the consequences there is some currency with the Lover's card there. So it's okay. I just feel like the choice felt like the obvious one because they're the most famous lovers. But like, if I were going to design a Lover's card, I might, based on Shakespeare, I might choose Beatrice and Benedict from Much Ado About Nothing, just because I'd love to see some adult lovers, you know what I mean, who are complicated, but like it is a love story. But again, that's just, I didn't make this deck. The Chariot, again, Julius Caesar. Strength, again, we get Antony and Cleopatra. So they're not, like, they don't just show up once. King Lear is the Hermit. Again, not a choice I would make. King Lear is a vain, foolish man who thinks that he's owed something by his children. And when his smartest daughter points out that he isn't really owed anything, he cuts her out and ends up going with the, the nasty daughters who want to steal from him. He ends up going crazy, um, and he dies. Like, and it's a tragedy in Shakespeare, like everyone else does. So, um, we think of the hermit as wisdom and possessing wisdom and mentorship and spiritual enlightenment and going away to study. Lear does none of that. So while King Lear may look like a hermit, he's not one. Um, and what's interesting, with the Fool, those two gentlemen of Verona, the Fool in Lear actually would make a great Fool card, because the Fool in Lear plays way outside the rules, as the Fool in Tarot does. So just a missed opportunity there. The Fool is depicted in this Lear card, but there's actually, maybe she felt like it was too obvious. But I mean, the Fool in Lear is one of those great Fool roles in Shakespeare. The Wheel of Fortune is just a quote from King Lear. Justice is the Merchant of Venice. It's an appropriate one, because Justice in that play is not blind, and it's not necessarily dealt out, well. And that, I think Justice can have a very one-dimensional quality in a tarot reading. This is less pat than that, so that's interesting. If you know the Merchant of Venice, again, this all implies you kind of know what the hell I'm talking about, and I don't want to describe the, that's why I put this one last, because if you're bored with this, you'll go. The Hanged Man, Hamlet, this actually really makes sense. If you know Hamlet, he is very internal, very heady, very tortured, and does make some big sacrifices in order to do or figure out what the right thing is. So Hamlet feels appropriate for the Hanged Man. Death, we get a quote from Richard III. The devil is why this deck falls down for me. The choice of Othello as the devil is problematic. Othello is a man who was, again, as uncommon in Shakespeare as is common in Shakespeare, was vain and easily led, but not, he was good at what he did, and there was a real nasty character, the Iago character, who causes his downfall and does the whispering in the ear and causes him to make really terrible decisions ultimately. That, there's elements, I guess, of the devil card in there, but not, for me, ultimately, it's problematic because A, it feels racist. Sorry. I'm sure that wasn't the intent, but putting the only, really the only non-white character in Shakespeare, as the devil, to me, is problematic. It honestly be like putting Shylock as the devil, Iago would make a more interesting devil because he's seductive. He seduces Othello into making those bad decisions. That, to me, is more devilish than a man who's led to it. Now, there's an element of, Othello definitely has, strong sexual urges for his wife. He murders her in their bed. There's elements in there that, I can see why that choice may have been made, but it's really hard for me to get past it. So it's why I don't use this. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I don't use this deck for other people, because I just feel like that if this card came up, I feel like I would have to comment on it. The art on this particular card also feels like a bad sort of horror movie, blaxploitation film from the 60s or 70s. It's just really problematic to me in many, 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 many ways. And so, and it just doesn't draw a good line between the qualities of the character and the qualities of the card. So this one is so problematic to me that I kind of lost, I was going for the ride with the deck until then. Temperance, we get Much Ado About Nothing. Again, not a card I would necessarily go for. If I were going to go for one of the comedies, I might go for Rosalind with Temperance from As You Like It, because she's very level-headed, and she's very good at working things out for what she needs. The Tower, we get Richard III. That actually makes a lot of sense given the sort of Tower of London and the kind of intrigue of the princes in the Tower, etc. The Star is, again, Much Ado About Nothing. The Moon is A Midsummer Night's Dream. Totally appropriate. The Sun is Henry VIII. I don't know the histories that well. Henry VIII, probably not a guy I would associate with the Sun. But whatever. Judgment, Pericles, a play I definitely don't know. And The World is As You Like It. All the World's a Stage. As a theater nerd, this feels good to me. And then all of the rest of... So it's... the suits are scepters, crowns, swords, and orbs, I believe. Yeah. So, and then this is a big job to assign a Shakespeare play to each of the 78 cards, but there's certainly enough characters and plots in I think there's 36. Oh my god, I'm gonna embarrass myself. I think there's 36 plays by Shakespeare. It's been a while since I've studied all of that. So each one gets one. Romeo and Juliet comes up for the Two of Wands. Twelfth Night for the Three of Wands. I don't necessarily see the relationship between the traditional energy of the card and the choices made. So there was another reason why the deck kind of didn't jive for me, and I won't go through all of it. But as a theater nerd, as a writer, I will probably hold on to this because it just feels like the kind of thing that I should have in my collection. And I've talked about this before. I'm really not much of a deck collector. I primarily because I don't have space for them, but also just because I have some stuff that I feel like should be used, and I'm not using it. But this one I will probably hold on to. The Celtic Wisdom I will probably look for a new home for. I'm not sure about the Bright Idea deck, but that one's not hard to get. So anyway, this is just a little walk through what I found, just kind of going through, looking for some other stuff, and it's always fun to find stuff that you forgot about. And I thought I had the Shakespearean Tarot. I couldn't remember where. The Celtic Wisdom deck I'd completely forgotten about, and the Inner Child cards I knew I had, but just haven't looked at since I started reading. And again, I think I started reading when I was 19. And I'm 37 now, so I was maybe even 18. I might have even started reading when I was 18. Anyway, it was an obscenely long time ago, and it makes me feel bizarre to know that happened. One of my early memories, like, no one's gonna hear this, right, because this video is so long. One of my early memories of learning to read, I have a couple. I was still living with my parents, so I must have been 18 or 19. Because I moved out when I was 20. I was hiding all of this, obviously, but obsessively buying decks, because I was, I don't even know. So I got hooked, because I was in a production of Godspell, believe it or not, and we went out afterwards, and one of the musicians brought a deck of tarot cards, and I thought, oh my god. And I do not know what deck it was, but I remember the Hermit, and I cannot find out what deck it was because I don't know the person anymore, and I don't even remember their name. And I've been trying to find this deck ever since. No idea what it was. Anyway, I thought, oh my god. So I was like, that's bad, raised Catholic, all that stuff. But I could not stop thinking about it. So when I was in this discount bookstore, I found one of Emily Peach's books, and I bought that, and it wasn't very useful, and I lost it. But then I started I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I bought my first deck, which was the original Rider-Waite Tarot pack, which everyone hates. It's actually my favorite Rider-Waite Smith back, the one with the roses and lilies on it, the blue, and it comes in that great purple and gold box. Anyway, that just started the avalanche for me. But I spent a lot of time online, so I found Joanne Bunning's site, Learning Tarot, and I read her book on reversals. Joined the ATA. I was reading for their free networks, but I also found the American Tarot. No, I found the Tarot School, and I got their audio course on past life readings. And I remember going through it, and I remember doing a reading for myself, and I don't remember what cards I drew. Nothing in the card that I drew could have prompted what I imagined or thought or experienced, but I remembered closing my eyes and doing this sort of guided meditation thing and feeling myself on an old train, and looking down at my feet. I couldn't see the rest of myself, but I could see my feet, and I was wearing like spats, like not spats are the things that cover your shoes, right? But the sort of white and brown sort of loafers, I guess, and just sort of like I could see like sort of pinstripe pants. Anyway, it was just sort of a moment of that, and I kind of freaked out and pulled out of it. But it was interesting because I thought, well, did I make that up, or was that an actual connection? And I also early on got Janina Renee's book of tarot spells, and at the time I needed a new car, and I remember doing one to sort of get a car, and I ended up buying a car that day, and then being like, whoa, I have to be really careful with this stuff because it can work. So anyway, just a little trip down memory lane there for you. So those are some decks that I forgot about, and that are back out on my table, at least for a little while. So I hope this was interesting. Have a good week.